Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Happy freaking Wednesday. Happy Generational Wealth Wednesday, in fact, to each and every one of you. I'm probably going to do this video. I'm probably going to put this in the mastermind as well. I don't know if I'll do a separate one for the Patreon group, but we'll see. Listen, this is kind of part two of the question. Is 5% a year a fair price to manage all your money that is in a traditional banking system? We're trying to shed light and expose the fraud that is the banking system and how middle America is just being hoodwinked and bamboozled by the banking system, and offer, two or three suggestions and options to opt out to perhaps capture that 5%, get it back because they're using your money and they're keeping the 5% at least, and they're keeping the profit on the money that they make in these risky investments. And not only are they keeping the profits, if they fail, they get bailed out. And the executives at those failed banks still get their money, still get their compensation, still get their bonuses. The only loser are the people that are in the banking system, the regular, everyday Joe and James. So let's follow up on Austin Campbell's post here. It's a little long, so it's going to be a minute. This is your XRP Ripple Daily News in around 0 to 10 minutes. Austin Campbell asks this question: do you believe you should have to lend money to a real estate billionaire at below market rates to buy a coffee? If you didn't answer yes to that, you are actually opposed to the current structure of the financial system. When I said that kind of thing, When I say that kind of thing, most people look at me like I've grown a second head. However, this is precisely how the current system works and reveals a point that I think most people don't understand. Our current banking structure is set up to hide the volatility and costs from the average user. And let me remind some people who may not have watched this first video. I highly encourage you to go watch it. It is titled, "Is 5 cents a year, 5% a year, fair price to manage all your money?" Austin Campbell is a guy who worked at JP Morgan for 10 years. He worked at Citibank. He also was the back end person for Paxos stablecoin and Paxos and the PayPal stablecoin. Okay. Very, very smart guy. So, all right. Banking system. However, this is precisely how the current system works and reveals a point that I think most people don't understand about our current banking structure. Is set up to hide the volatility and cost from the average user so that you are the frog being slowly boiled and you don't realize what is happening until it's too late. This is such a long topic. I'm writing a book that has multiple chapters. I can't wait. Personally, I say that about it. But let me try to hit some key points here. The first is that money in a bank is not safe. Money in a bank is not safe. I know I'm going to get a small army of objections about how, as long as you are under 250K, the FDIC will save you. We've been saying this on the channel for a long time about it's a scam that is the FDIC. It's a sham. But I'm going to raise two responses. I'm going to raise 2 points in response to that. What's wrong with me? All right. One is that for many small to medium businesses, this is simply not possible. Mom and pop shops. And it's not that they are rich. If you are in a high turnover, low margin business like a supermarket, for example, you probably blow through that limit regularly, but your actual net profit is far below it. So you probably blow past 250K really, really easy because you're getting a lot of money coming in, but a lot of it comes out really, really quick as well. So what's the solution for you? There is none. Point number two is that the FDIC itself is not infinite. And the insurance fund is certainly not sufficient to cover all, most, or even some of the deposits on an aggregate basis in the financial system. Again, we've been speaking to this. Now you hear from people who were at a bank, Citibank, one of the largest banks in the country, and at JP Morgan. He understands the inside of the banking system. This means the FDIC is relying upon good risk management at member banks, bailouts in the case of severe issues, and effective resolution of failed banks. All of which gets way harder in a crisis situation and requires some exceptional steering to survive. I'm lucky enough to know Sheila Bair. Sheila Bair is speaker, writer, former college president, FDIC chair. So let me tell you that this view does not start with me. And we still have 2008 era issues to chew on here that should be taken seriously and fixed. You also often hear the cry of, well, you should do due diligence on your bank to make sure it is safe. What the world? Who is saying that? And I'm here to tell you that it pants on head level crazy. Most people are just completely flying blind on this. I'll remind the crowd that long before I was ever in crypto, I traded one of the most bank capital focused trading books in the entire world. Bank owned life insurance wraps. If we really want to go into the dark forest of finance, okay, bank owned life insurance wraps. Yeah, by the way, a lot of people don't know that a lot of major banks, they use the policies and stuff that I talk about for capital. What he's saying is what they're doing is they're taking that capital and wrapping it and doing other stuff with that money. Not great. All right. And I spend roughly 80 to 100 hours a week thinking about this problem and still couldn't fully figure out the capital position and the solvency of many banks. Again, it was one of the most bank capital focused trading books in the entire world. This is what he did at JP Morgan. Did I have a decent guess? In many, but not all cases. A decent guess. Did I know for sure? No. Thus, unless you genuinely believe that in order to be allowed to have a bank account, the guy running the aforementioned supermarket should also have to become a bank capital expert, solid enough to compete with psychopaths like me, running trading books on the street. This is a complete lunatic position to hold. Also, where are they going to get the time to run their actual business? What he's saying is, we don't know. People going to go get the bank, they rely on that little sticker on the window before they enter the doors. They just rely on that. Oh, I'm good. I'm safe. It's FDIC insured. And it is one of FDIC insurance. It's one of the biggest shams in the history of finance. I've said it. It's right up there with the whole freaking central banking system. It's right up there. This guise of FDIC insured. That's why he mentions the lady Sheila. They know there is not enough money. It's a facade. I'm going to give you some options to kind of help you to opt out of that. Anyway, let me know. Okay. Don't believe me? I dare you to go read some 10Ks and Qs for banks. Let me know who you think the 5 most at-risk banks are for the collapse of the next 3 months. Let's see how good your results are and how long it takes you to figure that out. And if you don't want to or don't think you can, I actually agree that's the smart thing to do. For anyone who doesn't have this as a full-time job, it's a waste of time for nearly zero return. This whole idea of being able to do a due diligence on the bank to see if they're in a position to be solvent or insolvent, craziness. People just go get bank accounts. And they ask about FDIC. That's about the depth of any due diligence on a bank that you can understand. Remember, he said earlier in this post, it's designed to keep you confused. The banking system is designed to keep you completely confused as to what's really going on underneath the hood. Here's the problem, he says. Our system is also based on the idea that you have to do this. Our regulators, in their wisdom, have decided to shut down better options within the banking sector, like Custodius Bank, for example, Caitlin Long, who was going to back everything up dollar for dollar, in fact, $1.01 for every dollar. And she got denied it because the banking system wants to keep running that sham of fractional reserve banking. So in their wisdom, have decided to shut down better options with the banking sector itself for safe banking, as we can see from the sad story of things. Oh, look, like the narrow bank or Custodia, Caitlin Long's Custodia. So this dude, I'm telling you, knows what he's talking about. As a result, we have some hybrid solutions, like being able to pay for things with a money market fund through a debit card. Fidelity has a good solution for this that will be in a future article I'm writing about financial market structure. But currently, this brings us back to the first question I asked here. When you leave money in a bank, they make risky loans with it, often in the real estate space, commercial real estate. Ask yourself, what have you heard about commercial real estate business or industry in the last 14, 16, 18 months? It's not great at all. This is the price of admission. You are exposed to that risk. The bank pays you 0% for it in most cases. But if the bank fails, you lose your money. Is that a fair trade? No. Oh, and the executives largely keep their giant bonuses at your expense. It happens because we have given banks a monopoly on the payment system. This is why this whole idea of trying to throw shade at those of us who say, look, this banking system, now they may say down with the banks, but ultimately what they're saying is the banking system is robbing middle America. And the central banks want to continue to stay in control. Let me read it again. It happens because we have given banks a monopoly on the payment system. Why did we do that? That's a good question. All right, I'm going to go to a couple of clips again from this video with Austin on the Bankless YouTube channel and take a listen. And then I'm going to offer some solutions. All right, here's a great question from David Hoffman to Austin Campbell.
This current financial structure that we've just illustrated, how did we end up here? Like, why does this structure exist? Do they really have such a strong monopoly over this system that we can't change it? Are there no real alternatives? Like, why don't we have any alternatives? And can competition enter and disrupt this market? Just like the state of the equilibrium that we found ourselves in. How do we get here?
So I think we got here through a series of what I will say are probably individually well-intentioned decisions that led us to a point that is pretty negative, right? Like if you've studied game theory, and you understand what Nash equilibria are, we've gotten into a Nash equilibrium in the financial system where banks have a monopoly on payments and kind of control everything. And
again, banks have a monopoly on payments. Again, and this for the XRP fam, it's important to understand that Ripple didn't fully grasp the big picture to what the banking cabal and payments looks like. They just thought, oh, we got such an awesome solution to Nostra Vostro, and we can speed up money, and those things are all true. But it's the banking cabal who doesn't care about that. In this video, he talks about the fact that the technology in the banking system is horrific. On purpose. They don't want it to change. They don't want the technology to get better. They want to continue to be the middle person between you and your money.
And there's no good reason to be here other than the decisions we've made have kind of pushed us here. And I want to be clear, like I'm pretty sympathetic to regulators having made a series of individually sane decisions, and then through some of their efforts and some of the efforts of Congress having ended up in a bad place. Because what we've done is post, a series of crises. So we had 2008, which was very much a banking and credit crisis. Prior to that, we had the whole tech bubble and then the accounting scandals with like Enron and WorldCom, which caused us to pass Sarbanes-Oxley, which actually has done some very weird things to like financial market structure in terms of companies going public and finding capital and who can be successful. And we had in the 90s, like the whole issue of global foreign banks coming into the US and wanting to repeal Glass-Steagall so we could compete, right? And again, I can justify like Dodd-Frank, Sarbanes, like Glass-Steagall repeal, all of them individually very well, but it's put us in a place where essentially the banking system is operating sort of as an unchecked oligopoly on financial markets. And the answer is there are some, at least in my opinion, obviously better constructs we could have. So let's pause before we get into crypto, right? This is, again, something I think it's important to do. And I'm just going to shill a product for a company I have no affiliation with that people should know about, okay? So if you have a Fidelity account, like Fidelity.
I have one of those.
Okay, cool. If you have a Fidelity brokerage account, you could own a government money market fund that pays you the risk-free rate, which is again about 5%. Yeah. And you have a debit card that you can use to pay for things that come out of your money market fund.
I didn't know that part. So I could get a debit card attached to that money market
account? Is this the trad way of being bankless?
No,
this is the trad.
It's kind of bank. Like, at least if you're not cut out of that like 5% risk-free rate yield that the bankers are just sucking on.
Correct. I would suggest a better way to phrase that is it's the trad way of being bank minimized.
Yeah.
You do still have a debit card.
Yeah. So the Fidelity thing is, we have one of those accounts, a brokerage account as well. And they call them, cash management accounts. There's one that is the money market one that he's talking about that pays you the risk-free rate that the banks keep. You can get it yourself through that money market thing through Fidelity. And you can ask for a debit card to be assigned to that account. And then you can use it, you can use that card for stuff. They also have one that is 2.something%, 4757, but that's an FDIC one. And again, the challenge with that is that kind of that hoodwink and bamboozle of the FDIC. Obviously, the government money market one it's your money. You put money in that thing, and you get the rate based on what you got in there. Fidelity, in my opinion, is doing a great job of, they got Fidelity Digital Assets. I think they're doing a good job, considering who they are, and tipping towards the everyday retail investor. I wouldn't say JP Morgan is doing that. I wouldn't say Vanguard necessarily. Well, Vanguard's not even crypto, so we don't count them. So I wouldn't say anyone who's got their foot in crypto as well is doing a good job of balancing that TradFi and retail investor. Giving the retail person some better options. So, yeah, that's one of the solutions that we like as an answer to this madness that is the banking system. All right, let me go here in a minute 50, share something else, because I find it fascinating that Austin recognizes the value in stable coins for the average everyday, for the financial system as a whole. Let's see here.
And go on the regulatory capture front. And so what I would say is we've created this system where banks lobby, and a lot of the banks have at least some degree of credibility, having managed elements of risk well, especially like the ones at the very upper end, who are constantly saying like, don't make it hard for us to compete. We do the best job, give us favorable rules, like do X, Y, Z, because they're trying to make more money, but I think largely trying to not blow themselves up while making more money, right?
And so that's the issue again. He skirts around the real issue because he in this video, which I highly recommend you guys check out, he is saying, well, it's not really a conspiracy theory. I know the regulators, I know these other people, I've worked with them for years. They're not that smart. But what he's missing is that the system is set up that way. The system is, those people that he knows, regulators, all those different people he knows he works with, they are employees. There to do a job in a system that is designed to steal from them and from us. This is why Rockefeller and the other guy, I think it was J.P. Morgan, the original J.P. Morgan, who went to the educational system. This is a fact. Check it out. ChatGPT it, AI it, whatever. Went to the education system and said, hey, all this stuff on becoming a business owner and entrepreneur, hey, let's wean that out of the, up to high school thing. We need employees, not more business owners. Never, ever forget, let us never, ever forget that the country, the U.S., was 85, 88% business owners. Everybody had a little mom and pop thing that they were doing. Now it is completely the other way around. In fact, I bet you it's 95 to 90. I bet you it's 90 to 95% employees versus small business owners. You understand? It's not that the employees are trying to steal from you. It's that they go to work trying to get an income to support their families, but it's in a system that's designed to steal from you. You understand? That's what it is. That's what it is. And then you throw politics in it so that the likes of Gary Gensler, who's already got his 9-figure net worth, what they do, what the banking people do, is they throw this carrot out of, we can get you a gig. Look, so we got the ear of the current administration. We got the ear of any administration. And we can throw some favorable stuff towards your direction for a potential gig in the office. You understand? This is why the regulator challenge, it needs to be revamped, because we don't get to decide who these regulators are. The banking system gets to decide who gets put in front of the administration that chooses them. Right? Where does it all start? It all starts with the dollars to get the elected administration. They play both sides. They're giving dollars to both sides. They're giving them to the Democrats. They're giving them to Republicans. Why? And guess whose money they're using to do it? It's your money that they're using. It's our money that they're using. for all these campaign donations. That this is where all these fees and all this other different income comes into them. Billions of dollars in a quarter in profit. And they feed it to the politicians on both sides. And then they send the PAC and the lobbyists to Congress. This is what is happening. And the only way to change it is to opt out.
And it leads to this sort of toxic situation where the regulators, as I said, basically optimize for safety, which means pushing power to the bigger banks who have been better managed. And legislators get lobbied the most by the bigger banks because they're the ones with the money to do the lobbying.
You understand? That's the system. That's the system, right? It's, you know, in business, I use this all the time, that the system is rigged against you. It's rigged against us. This is why the digital asset space is so important. And the idea of down with the banks is essentially, we have got to change the system. We've got to change that system. Now, it may make sense to be like, oh, down with the banks. Banks? No way. No way, they're too powerful. No way, they're too powerful. No way, they'll get the administration to break out the guns and all that stuff. It's because those people who talk about that stuff are ignorant to the reality of the situation. The system is designed for 97, 98, 99% of the people to lose. And only for the billionaires and up who can leverage the system and make it fit to what they got going on. That's why he asked a question about real estate billionaires. Gary Cardone is blunt and kind of like, no, you're not getting what I'm getting, dude. That's why I listen to Gary Cardone, because he speaks the truth. He said, dude, you're not getting the rate that I'm getting. You're not getting the treatment that I'm getting. You're not getting it. And he says the answer to the handicap, the disadvantage, he says the answer to the disadvantaged is Bitcoin. Now, I say it's the digital asset space, but I understand why he's saying it's Bitcoin. He tells you flat out, so does his brother, Grant Cardone, by the way, tells you flat out, dude, I'm getting this rate. You ain't getting this rate. I'm getting this advantage. You're not getting this advantage. I'm getting the special treatment and the red carpet rolled out. You're not getting it. Well, you ask us all, do everyone have to become a billionaire? No. You got to opt out of the system. The system doesn't work if we're not in it. It doesn't work if we're not in it. They need the depositors. It won't work without it. That's why the bank lobbyists are doing everything humanly possible to eliminate any possibility of us working directly with the government. Because remember, back in the central bank origination of the central bank, it was a partnership. They hoodwinked the government and said, look, I got it. You're trying to fight this war. We got this money. We're talking about the original families from way back yonder. We got the money. We'll be able to get you this money if you make this agreement with us to have the people, to have your citizens go through us for this money. That's how the central banking system got started. Now with stablecoins, it's a way for us to deal directly with the government and not need the banks. Deal directly with the government. The stablecoin is a genius way to be able to do it. In other words, it eliminates the banks, the top banks, not the other 9,980 banks, the top banks, the top 10 or 20. It eliminates them from getting that 5%. It eliminates them from, if we're smart, not having to deposit with them, long-term especially, from them taking our asset and going out there and risking it and gambling it away and then putting it on us to bail them out. That's the system. All right, let's see. All right. Let's go over here, a minute 58. Another good question and another response here.
There are many forms of borrowing in the United States where the answer is probably no because of how much we subsidize it. And that's why I'm saying, to me, it's getting to an equilibrium. I'm not saying don't subsidize any form of borrowing. Maybe there are types you do want to subsidize. I'm saying don't make it mandatory sort of equilibrium within the economy and a lot more safety for people who don't want to take, sort of exotic risks through bank wrappers.
I want to double down on something you just said, Austin. The massive subsidy to borrowers. The subsidy is coming from the fact that systemically, everyone that has and keeps and uses and stores their money in a bank account is making rates easier for borrowers. And they didn't really care about that side of the equation. They just need a place to store their money so they can spend it. Yet, as a byproduct of that, they are creating this much more lucrative borrowing market.
Yep.
So that borrowers can borrow money at cheaper rates. On the surface, that kind of sounds okay. Maybe I'm incentivizing growth and investment. I'm also incentivizing risk, I guess. Why wouldn't we like that though? Why wouldn't we you talked about the debt, but is that just the main reason? Why wouldn't we want to incentivize borrowing?
So I would suggest there's a big difference between incentivizing some forms of borrowing, which we could still do, and making it mandatory, right? Like a system that requires that versus a system that allows that are two very different types of systems. Right. And two, I would also tell you one of the interesting things that you observe with many forms of borrowing is it doesn't really change the shape of the activity. It just raises prices. So maybe the best place you could observe this is college tuition. Right. The fact that the government sort of gives an unlimited guarantee to people on their student loans probably has a hell of a lot to do with why tuition costs have gone one direction over about the past 50 years. Right. So I would suggest the way you should measure borrowing is on a return on investment basis, which is to say, given the money that's being allocated here, are people generating a significant return on investment adjusted for risk in this space? And I would
return on investment adjusted for risk. Where have you heard that before? Return on investment adjusted for risks. We talk about this on the channel. We've been on this for the last 6 months or so. Risk adjusted return assets in crypto. We got to factor that in and ask those questions. Which assets are the better risk-adjusted return assets? I don't know about you, but last night I was buying like crazy. What did I buy? Bitcoin, Solana, Sui. Not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I did. Why? Bitcoin is the savings. It's the best risk-adjusted return on your money. Solana is up and to the right on the network adoption curve. All the other altcoins have to do that. They got to go up and to the right in order to be valuable. And it probably is a cycle to cycle thing. Solana, this might be their last cycle. Maybe the regular retail person's like, yeah, daily active users going up. Yeah, network adoption. Yeah, faster and cheap. Yeah, it's fast and it's cheap. And yeah, there's a lot of things I can do there with my money. But, it's centralized. Maybe the whole digital asset space wakes up in the morning and says, that's just a little too centralized for me. I don't care that it's fast. I don't care that it's cheap. I don't care that it's places where I can do DeFi and earn on my asset by holding Solana and staking Solana. I don't care. It's centralized. It's way too centralized. Maybe the whole digital asset space wakes up to that and moves on to another layer one. But I ask you, what do you think? In terms of priority, where do you put decentralization? In terms of you going out there and creating wealth and possibly generational wealth for you and your family, I ask you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where does decentralization come in terms of you creating wealth for you and your family? Look, it's not a whole lot of things for me to do on this L1. It's slow. It's slow and it's expensive, but hey, it's decentralized. Where does it fit? Decentralization. Where does that fit? Is it about the experience or no? Where does fast and cheap, is it ahead of decentralization or not? Perhaps that's a better question. Is fast and inexpensive ahead of decentralization for you? There's people out there on X right now trying to put decentralization first. Where is it for you? I'm not saying it's not important. Decentralization obviously is important. I would argue that decentralization, just like Flare is doing, Flare is in the process of decentralizing itself, right? Remember, they're going to be walking away, right? Becoming just it's a process. It takes time. Not that we forget about it, but it takes time. And I would argue that fast and inexpensive and being able to do something is going to be higher up. It's going to be more of a priority for the masses in crypto. And as long as that's the case, then network adoption and going up and to the right on the network adoption curve is the one. It's the formula. It's the formula.
Say transparently, there are many forms of borrowing in the United States where the answer is probably no because of how much we subsidize it. And that's why I'm saying, to me, it's getting to an equilibrium. I'm not saying don't subsidize any form of borrowing. Maybe there are types you do want to subsidize. I'm saying don't make it mandatory and ubiquitous for basically all forms of borrowing.
Austin, so let's kind of, by way of recap, get to what you're talking about, which is stablecoins here. So we established in the first part of the conversation, our conversation with the average middle-class normie that you might see on the street, right? And just your sidewalk in your community, the person, you hang out with or you don't want to have these crypto conversations. And they have accepted the fact that the banking system is ripping them off. And actually, their money in the bank is maybe riskier than at first it seemed. We've already made that case. And now you're introducing what you just said, which is like crypto can fix this by route of stable coins. And we can build the entire financial system on top of stable coins. So notice, Austin did not talk about Bitcoin, did not talk about Ethereum, nothing like this. Your argument comes at it from a different route, which is like stable coins. But let's get back on that thread. Why are stable coins better for me as an individual than my dollars in a bank account? I know we'll come back to, like, you can transport it. There's crypto rails. You can use it in DeFi, all of these things. That's a crypto native conversation that they're not ready for yet. They don't understand.
Right.
Just tell me the basics. Is it because I'm getting that 5% yield? And like, if I get USDC today as a crypto user, I'm not getting that yield, right? Anyway, could you outline how that works, why it eliminates the risk and why it eliminates the banker cut that has been so toxic in the first case you were making?
Yeah, so one, there are ways to get that yield for things like USDC. Like if you leave your USDC on Coinbase, they do pay you. But let's leave USDC aside, because if I'm going to be honest with you, I like the guys at Circle. I think they've done a good job being, call it a forerunner in that space, but I think it's unlikely that USDC is the final form of like a stable coin. So let me give a more interesting example here, which is PayPal's US dollar, and I'll explain why it's interesting.
Which I learned just hit the billion mark, by the way.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yeah. So I built a lot of the back end for PYUSD when I was at Paxos. So I'm not asking uninformed questions here, but I'm going to start with this. So if you have $2,000 in your PayPal account, let's leave crypto out of this, just in your PayPal account, and PayPal goes bankrupt, what happens to your $2,000?
Does that become a claim on PayPal's assets?
Correct. Yeah, you're just a general creditor in the bankruptcy of PayPal. It's actually identical to being an uninsured depositor in a bank.
Mhm.
And that doesn't
Right,
feel
in that
good. I did
context.
the whole Celsius thing and the BlockFi thing. That doesn't feel good.
It sucks, right? Like speaking technically, it fucking sucks. Now, here's a question for you. If you have PYUSD in your private wallet and PayPal goes bankrupt, what happens?
Okay, I feel like we know this
You-
by route of Nick Carter, but go ahead, David.
I think you just get dollars on a one-to-one basis like later. You wait some time.
Yeah, you might not even have to wait that long given that Paxos is involved if they're not bankrupt. But the answer is PayPal's reserves for PYUSD are in a segregated trust account in New York State titled for the benefit of the stablecoin holders, meaning that, Ryan, if you own $100 of PYUSD, that is your property, not PayPal's.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Oh, cool.
That's way
Yes.
better.
Exactly.
So it's almost bearer asset-like.
It is bearer asset. Like it's
Mhm.
the same thing as the cap.
Isn't that interesting? An option, an alternative. Guess what? PayPal launched their USD. I think initially they launched it. On Solana. But take a listen to that. It's a great question, and I'm glad he brings it up because, again, he worked at Paxos for the back end and of the stablecoin PYUSD. All right.
Right, like speaking technically, it fucking sucks. Let's leave USDC aside because if I'm going to be honest with you,
Listen,
I like the guys at Circle. I think they've done a good job being, call it a forerunner in that space, but I think it's unlikely that USDC is the final form of like a stable coin. So let me give a more interesting example here, which is PayPal's US dollar, and I'll explain why it's interesting.
Which just I learned just hit the billion mark, by the way.
Yes, it
Just
did.
learned that.
Yes, it did. Yeah. So I built a lot of the back end for PYUSD when I was at Paxos. So I'm not asking uninformed questions here, but I'm going to start with this. So if you have $2,000 in your PayPal account, let's leave crypto out of this, just in your PayPal account, and PayPal goes bankrupt, what happens to your $2,000?
Does that become a claim on PayPal's assets?
Correct. Yeah, you're just a general creditor in the bankruptcy of PayPal. It's actually identical to being an uninsured depositor in a bank.
And that doesn't
Right,
feel
in that
good. I did
context.
the whole Celsius thing and the BlockFi thing. That doesn't feel good.
It sucks, right? Like speaking technically, it fucking sucks. Now, here's a question for you. If you have PYUSD in your private wallet and PayPal goes bankrupt, what happens?
Okay, I feel like we know this
You-
by route of Nick Carter, but go ahead, David.
I think you just get dollars on a one-to-one basis like later. You wait some time.
Yeah, you might not even have to wait that long given that Paxos is involved if they're not bankrupt. But the answer is PayPal's reserves for PYUSD are in a segregated trust account in New York State titled for the benefit of the stablecoin holders, meaning that, Ryan, if you own $100 of PYUSD, that is your property, not PayPal's.
Wow.
Oh, and
Right. And I wanted to share this, and I'm going to end the video on that as well. Right. It's yours. So the way PayPal set it up. Don't know if every stablecoin issuer has done that. Don't know. I'm not sure. But I got a feeling about Ripple's stablecoin. Remember, they got the NYDFS thing that he mentioned here. They got that. My guess is it'll be the same as PayPal, the segregated account. So in lieu of some kind of bankruptcy, it's yours. Unlike those of us who are at Celsius, where the bankruptcy court said that the assets were not ours, that they were, in fact, Celsius. Hugely important. I'm going to let him talk a few minutes here about what he sees in the value of stablecoin for the average Joe and Jane in crypto.
interesting.
Right.
Oh, cool.
That's way
Yes.
better.
Exactly.
So it's almost bearer asset-like.
It is bearer asset.
It
Like
is
it is
bearer
the
asset.
same thing as the cash asset in your Fidelity brokerage account that is titled in your
Well,
name.
but that PayPal, the PayPal stablecoin, what's that backed by? Is that all kind of like treasuries in the back?
So if you look,
So by the way, he said the PayPal stablecoin is the same thing as the Fidelity product mention, except for I don't know if you're going to get, oh, here's the yield part. So it's the same product in terms of the Fidelity money market. It's the same product, and that in the backing and the relationship to whether you own it or not. So what do I mean? T-bills, whatever, all these government guaranteed stuff is both in the government money market fund of Fidelity and in PayPal's USD. The difference right now, think about this, the difference right now is Fidelity is allowed to give you the 4.5, 4.47 to 5% yield. They're allowed to give it to you. You can get that money market fund, you're getting the risk-free rate. In crypto, Gary Gensler, in behest of Elizabeth Warren, which is in behest of the banks, won't let it be done. They're trying to say that that yield is a security. Do you understand? The banks are trying to fight it because they want to keep it. As opposed to getting it, that money market fund is technically, it's just a relationship between you and the bank, you and the government at Fidelity. It's backed by the government, it's guaranteed, it's T-bills, blah, 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 blah. It's yours, you get it. It's yours, you get it. Right now, the PayPal thing is got the backing, so it's your money. But what about the yield? What about the fat cow, the golden goose, I should say? That is that 5%. Gary Gensler, the SEC, and the banks are fighting that. They're fighting so you can't get it. You understand? They're fighting it so that you can't get it. Because it's the banks get cut out. Those top banks, they get cut out if PayPal is allowed to give you the yield. And then the other one, remember, Ripple and other companies, they're going to have to compete. They're going to have to compete with the PayPal, for example, stablecoin. This thing that's fully backed by the US government. This thing that's giving you and I a 4, 5% yield. The other stablecoin issuers in the States will have to be able to compete. What does that mean? It means it's better for you and I, but it's bad for those top banks because they're not going to get it. We would be getting it. It's a reason why that PayPal stablecoin has already got up to $1 billion already. It's on Solana. You can go there and earn yield on it on Solana, on Camino Finance. You understand? And I'm going on about this just to understand that it's not enough, in my humble opinion, it's not enough for us to just be in crypto. We got to find the attack, the vector. We got to find the sham in the system. We have to expose that and then discover options to get out of it. And maybe, like this guy says at the end of this video, the answer is a link to this video sent to your local house representative about what it is that you want as a citizen. You want to be able to get that 5% risk-free in the stable coin that PayPal, a United States regulated company, can offer and wants to offer, by the way. They want to give it to you and I. You'll hear it in this video as well.
At what Paxos holds, full transparency. When I was there, we started publishing reports down to the penny for what is in there. So you could go look at Paxos's website and answer that question to the penny of the stuff. But the general guidelines that it is allowed to be in are bank deposits, which should be minimized. And in the case of Paxos, when there are uninsured deposits, they largely also try to buy private market insurance on that to sort of, double tap on that problem of credit risk. And then it will be supermajority T-bills and something called overnight reverse repo, which I won't bore people with the details of, other than to say that stuff is also secured by U.S. Treasuries.
Okay.
In Paxos's case.
How does this compare to the earlier TradFi example, where we were talking about like me hooking up my money market account and Fidelity to a debit card? What kind of
same stuff?
Same
stuff. Like Paxos's reserve management strategy, which I built so I can talk about this, is basically the same as what the large US asset managers use to run their government money market funds. This is the same stuff, right? So your Vanguard government money market fund, your Franklin Templeton government money market fund, your Fidelity government money market fund, your BlackRock government money market fund all look substantially similar. It's T-bills and overnight reverse repo. Same thing Paxos is doing. And that, by the way, is not an accident. Because if you go back and look at 2008, when you hit a credit crisis of what instruments are going to make it through that in one piece, you have just discovered the list of instruments. And that's why that's what's in there.
Okay, now what about the yield part, Austin? So
Listen
I don't currently get that with most stablecoins that I've tried.
Correct. And that problem, if we're being totally blunt, is almost entirely regulatory if we want to go back to Gary Gensler, right? If you try to pay that yield through in the United States right now, there are some distinct ways you can maybe do it, but mostly people try to sue you for being a security.
Why would an unelected bureaucrat like Gary Gensler try to rob you, tax-paying citizen, of that 5% roughly yield? This is the question. This is the question that we just got to ask ourselves. Like, I post on X. I don't post most often, but when I do post, I do this post and I say, we can no longer afford to be naive. This is why I encourage you guys on my live streams to pop your head up and outside of the XRPL bubble and take a look around. They can't beat us. If collectively we come together, they can't win. A congressperson can't get elected. A banking system that's right for fraud can't exist. If we come together and demand a thing, we can't take the lazy and scared and soft view, oh, they'll just bring out the guns. Come on, bro. That's basically saying that this country is willing at the drop of the hat to become a totalitarian dictatorship government. Is that what you're suggesting? Because that's what you would have if they decided to bring out the tanks and the guns. I know the billionaire dude said it, Roger, or something or another. Dude don't understand. All right, fam. So there it is. I think perhaps my most important video. Highly encourage you guys to watch that video. It's on the Bankless channel. Highly encourage you to watch it. It's titled, Banks Are Risky. Middle America Needs Crypto Now. And I think the genius thing about what Austin Campbell did was, by way of stable coins, to have conversations, by way of stable coins, to get it into the financial system. This is why Congress has really kind of come together to get this stablecoin bill in. Trust me when I tell you, it's being the bankers and the lobbyists, they know about it and they're trying to slow it down. They're trying to get these little provisions in there so that they can stay relevant, and not really relevant so that they can keep being able to hoodwink the people. The 5% rate, with getting us to gently deposit our assets there, that kind of thing. Couple of alternatives. The Coinbase card. Let me do this. I don't know why I did that. Let's do this. Coinbase card is a great option for paying for stuff because you get back in crypto. We get back 4% in Bitcoin. You just go to coinbase.com/card. and apply for the card. It's really, really cool. I use it everywhere. It doesn't matter where I go. I go out to dinner, I pay for drinks, I buy food. I use the Coinbase card. USDC in the account. I choose my reward that I want to get my 4%, and I choose Bitcoin. You can change it. I used to do XRP. I used to do XLM. I'm doing Bitcoin now. Great option. A great option. The other option is something to consider, takes a little strategizing, is Spritz Finance. Spritz Finance allows you to pay your bills in crypto. You can pay your bills in crypto. It's an awesome, awesome thing. They have a great on and off ramps as well. You can see it's got a 4.5 review on, I think that's Trustpilot. Lowest fees, fastest transactions, and the highest limits. It's really, really great. Again, you can get a Spritz card as well. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to sign up for it. I love it. It's a great way to be able to pay bills. And the point to it is, for me, I use my USDC, right? I take it from yield from being in DeFi, whatever, right? And here's the deal. And the one of the reasons why I use it for a good amount of the bills is because I'm trying to take baby steps out of the system. Let Spritz stay in the system if they want to. I'm trying to come out of it, right? Spritz is going to probably turn something, your stable, into some dollars somewhere in the back end or whatever. But my thing is, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Right? Oh, bills is going to be this month. Okay, cool. Swap USDC. Bills, $800. All right. Out of the bank, $800 in USDC. You understand? It's that. And this is going to get better and better and better and easier to do. And the great thing about the USDC, it can be on a bunch of chains, man. It can be on a bunch of chains. Bunch of chains. Look. BNB, Ethereum, Solana, Base, Polygon, Arbitrum, Bitcoin, for crying out loud. Tron, Optimism, Avalanche. You can use Dash if you want. It's really, 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 it's an awesome thing to use. And hopefully I'll remember to put the link in the description. I think I'm going to put it right underneath the mastermind link for the Patreon. It's baby steps out of the system. And it's great. You link your accounts up. You can put the name of the account, phone bill, utility bill, rent. Just pick them. Just pick them. Credit cards. It's pretty cool. All right, fam. Look, I know that was a little long of a video, but I did want to kind of share that thing with you guys. This wraps up your XRP Ripple Daily News in around 0 to 10 minutes. I hope that it has been of value to you. If it has, do me a favor, hit that like button. It's one of the greatest ways to support the channel. And if you happen to be in that 45 to 50% or so of people that are listening to, hanging out and watching the Crypto Seas, and you haven't subscribed to the channel, we're on a mission to go from 50% down to about 25% or less. And you can do your part to help us get there right now by just hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this one like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this, or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See you.